Okay, so we're going to start showing you how to sew your fabric strips together to make a placemat. So you're going to have a piece of denim, any size that you want. It could be a square or a rectangle, and then you just want pieces of fabric that will, once sewn together, go across the width and length of the fabric. So first of all, you just kind of lay out your denim and you choose your assorted fabrics just to lay across to pick the pattern that you want. So it's pretty random. It doesn't take a lot of thinking because they always seem to turn out really nice. I always recommend using these little, for kids, these little quilt squares. Well, they're not quilt squares, they're called fabric quarters, quilt quarters. And they're sold like this. They're pre-cut, and they're a quarter of a yard of fabric cut into a square. And so it's an easy way for kids to get a lot of different designs that they can choose from or play with, and then mix them up. So I've already did my assortment and cut up my squares and cut up my strips. So now it just becomes a matter of finding a design pattern that I like. And like I say, don't put too much thought into it, just lay them out the way you like. You just have to make sure that all of your fabrics, that you have enough fabrics that go beyond the width and length of your base fabric, which would be denim or a heavy cotton. Once you've done that, you're going to sew each of these together, kind of a sew and flip pattern. So I'm going to show you how to do that on the sewing machine. So once you've laid it out, just flip one strip on top of the other with the pretty sides together, meaning the side of the fabric that you want on the outside goes next to each other. And you're going to just sew a tiny seam. I sew right at the edge. We don't need a 5/8 inch seam or 3/8, just because that'll take up more fabric that you cut away. And in this case, we just want to attach all the fabrics using wasting as little fabric as possible. So we're just going to go straight down. Oh, my thread came out. So give me 1 minute to thread my machine. And this is a great project for kids. Like I said, if they're already sewing, it's a good way to use up extra fabric that they have lying around. If they're new to sewing, it's a good way for them to learn and to fine-tune their straight stitching techniques and being able to sew in a straight line. So give me 1 minute. All right, now we're ready. So we're going to line the edge of the fabric up with the edge of the presser foot and go all the way to the end, from one end to the other. Cut your thread, and then you're going to open it up, finger press it, or if you have your iron next to you, you can iron it. And you end up with these two pieces in the pattern that you laid out. So now you're going to lay this piece over the next piece, right sides together, and just want to line it up and do the same thing again. Kids can use pins if they like, or fabric clips. They don't have to, because this is a pretty short piece, or it just depends on how long it is, or if they have trouble keeping the sides and edges lined up. Just make sure if you're using pins that you take the pins out and never sew over them, because they will break. And so we're going to turn one more and see if I have enough. Sometimes after you start sewing them together, you'll find you have to add a couple of more strips on each side just to make it big enough to go across the base piece. Alright, so now you end up with a piece like this, and you lay it out, and again you would press it. So see how I have a little leftover, a little piece left over right here? That means I just would add another piece. So let's see, I think I'm gonna put a solid on this side too. No, I don't have a polka dot. I'm gonna add another polka dot on the edge right here. So I'm gonna lay this on top and sew it down. Alright, now this should be the same size or a little bit bigger than my piece. So if I lay it this way, I can see, actually I would be laying it this way because the right side of your base fabric is going to go next to the right side of your strips. And so we're going to lay this down, and don't worry about those raw edges. So now we see that we have a little bit excessive beyond our base fabric. So we're just going to cut that off. No need to measure, just a fussy cut. And now, so you end up with this, but don't throw it away because you could use this for something. Alright, so now we have our base fabric and we have our strip side fabric. So let's cut away all our threads, tails. By the way, I have a project for using your thread tails and your scraps that you toss in your little trash bag when you were cutting and sewing. So stay tuned for that project. That'll be pretty fun. Okay, so now I have these all together. I'm just going to start on one side. You're going to sew 3 sides, and then we're going to keep one side open so that we can turn it inside out and hand stitch it closed. So we're going to back tack and then go all the way around. Make sure your needle is down so that you can pivot and not lose your place. And when you're sewing strips together, you just kind of want to lay them down in the same direction as you're sewing. Just make sure they're laying down as they go under the presser foot. And so back tack, and then we leave this side open. Alright, I always clip my corners so that they're not too bulky when I get ready to turn it inside out. Thread, put all your trash in your little thread catcher. Alright, and so now you're going to turn it inside out, just like this. Pull it through, pull it around, and you're going to use, you could use the tip of your scissors gently to push out the corners. Or you could use a point turner, which I don't have right here, and cut out any threads that came from to the other side, and then you would press this all flat again. Now you see that you have a little opening right here. So right now this could be a placemat, this could be a little tote purse if we added strips, or straps. Some denim straps right here from one end to the other. This could be a pillow if we stuffed it right now. So this is a really good project for kids, either using a fabric quarters like we talked about, or even using up old t-shirts or old clothes that they just don't want to throw away, and then you end up with a little keepsake or memory item. So now we're going to turn our edges under on both sides, and press again. It just makes it easier to sew it closed. And now I would use some pins just to keep the fabric in place, and like you just get that till it's nice and neat. All the edges are tucked and pressed really neat. And all you do is you can hand stitch going around. Hand stitch just right here, or you can machine stitch it going all the way around. So maybe I'll do that. I'll machine stitch this going all the way around to close it up. And so I make it even, and then we go right back to the machine. This little hump at the beginning is going to be sometimes a little difficult, so I always use my hand wheel to get it started, and then I use my thread tails to pull it through. And you just want to keep it even, that open edge even with each side. Stop at the edge, make sure your needle is down, pivot, and push it a little, give it a little push. When you get back around to the edge, back tack, come off, cut your threads, cut your tails, and there you have your little placemat or snack mat. So the bigger you make it, here's one that I made out of some Independence Day fabrics, and here's one I have in progress that was for a friend that likes wine, and here's one that we completed, and I have the denim on the back, and then you just see. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope your child or you will find that helpful, and a really creative and fun way to make something really quick. They make great gifts. So stay tuned. I'll have some more videos coming, and I hope to see you soon.